Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you decided to watch this video. I'm going to go through a worksheet 9.6b with you. I'm going to do 4 examples. I'm going to ask that you do 2 more as practice on your own. And then your homework tonight, I'll talk about again at the end, will be to complete the Khan Academy. There's one Khan Academy assignment, just one. I think last time I was 3, so this is just one. But you got to get 4 out of 4 to get full points. So just keep retaking until you get it. Okay, so let's cover what's in 9.6b, which is essentially what was in 9.6. I'll show you what's on the Khan Academy practice, and we'll get after it. So starting here, this is not what's going to be on the Khan Academy. This is just a simple linear inequality graphing. So if it's just one, which again the Khan Academy will not be, it'll be a system. All right, you'll just graph this. For this one, we'll shade above or below. So my B is -4, where I begin. And my slope, my rise over run is 9/2, so I'm going to rise 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I'm going to run +2, 1, 2. There's my other dot. All right, so let's get those out of the way. Make my line. Okay, it's not going to be the best, but it'll be close enough. All right, so here's my line. Oh, and I didn't even talk about whether it should be dotted or solid. Once you have the dots drawn, you have to decide whether your line is going to be a solid line or a dotted line, and that is all going to be dependent on what this symbol is. If it has the little line underneath it, the or equal to, it's going to be solid. If this line was not here, I would color it in as dotted, and it will be like that on the Khan Academy. Now we have to decide which way to shade. Okay, there's 2 ways two sides only. For this one, I can shade either this way or this way. It's got to be one or the other. And that just depends on which way my symbol is opening up. That's a greater than sign. Okay, and if it's greater than or equal to, I shade above. Okay, above the line. Now for this one that's as steep as this, it can be kind of hard to tell what's above and what's below. My hint to everyone is to think of my line as a mountain, so draw the other side of the mountain. Okay, below would be the inside of the mountain, and above, think above the mountain. All right, so that obviously that red line is not there. I was just completing my little mountaintop. Okay, so above would be this side. And there you go. Done. That's a single one. Okay, special case. We have a slope of, what do you think? Undefined. Undefined slope is the straight up and down line. So I just need to figure out which point on the x-axis this line goes through. Goes through -3. Okay. Is it dotted or is it solid? It's going to be solid. Ooh. Not my best work. All right. And now the shade above or shade below is just a bit different with special cases, because how do you shade above or below a vertical line like this? Think of it like this, greater than, so all of the answers, all the values for x have to be greater than -3. So where on the x-axis are the values? Here's the x-axis. Where are the values on the x-axis greater than -3? And that's the side you shade. Boom. These are all, look at 3, 4, 5, 6, all greater than -3. All the values for x on the other side, too small. Those are smaller than -3. So that would be my shading for number 2. All right, so there's 1 and 2, just a basic little quick graph and shade tutorial. Let's cover now what you're going to see on the Khan Academy practice, and it's going to be graphing systems of inequalities with shading. It's going to be multiple choice, which is nice, but the multiple choice options are all very, very similar. If you guys ever seen that meme of like where Snoop Dogg is dressed like 5 different ways, and it's like questions on the ACT be like, that's what it's going to be like for Khan Academy. So they're all going to look really similar. You have to choose the one with the proper dotted or solid lines and with the proper shading. And they do shading kind of the same way. They add in a little extra, and I'll show you what that's going to look like on these practice problems here so you don't get thrown off when you see it. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to graph. That's going to be my blue line. It's going to be my green line. I like the color code. All right, so we got the first one. I'll do the blue one, the top one. Y equals negative 2x minus 1. So I'm going to begin with the B. Starts at negative 1. That's my y-intercept. And now my slope is going to be negative 2, but remembering that I want a fraction, I'm going to write it as a fraction, right? Negative 2 over 1, or 2 over negative 1. It doesn't matter which one you put the negative on, whichever one suits your graph. I think in this case it doesn't matter. So in this one, I'm just going to rise negative 2, 1, 2, and run positive 1. There you go. There's my other dots. Cool, cool, cool. All right, so now I have to decide, and this is going to be the important part, whether it's solid or dotted, and then eventually at the end we'll talk about shading. So look at your symbol. Oh, it has the or equal to little line, so I'm going to go ahead and make it a solid line. Cool. All right, so there's my first one. Let's do the green line now. It's actually very similar. Same slope, just a different y-intercept. The y-intercept this time is at 2. Oh, this is a special case, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't even realize. That's okay. We'll run through it. There may be one on the Khan Academy that looks like this. I don't know what all the potential problems are. Okay. So the reason this is a special case is because when I graph this, you heard me say it's the same slope, right? Well, if these two lines have the same slope, and it's a solid line, it is or equal to, if they have the same slope, you know, they're going to look, I'm going to do my best to make them look the same. Okay, it's going to look like this. The two lines are not going to intersect. So instead of there being 4 options to shade like there usually are, there's only 3. There's this section in the middle, and this section. So there's only 3 options. Okay, but you can figure it out. Find the overlap. So let's start with the blue. The shaded area for the blue line has to be, well, that's a greater than, and I know that greater than means shade above. So above the blue line would be either here or here, or this section. So those are my 2 options. I cannot have a shade in this area. That's not going to happen. Okay, so those are my 2 options. So I'm going to erase one of them. I'm either shading between the 2 or the top part. And that all depends on what the green says. And the green is also a greater than. So I'm going to shade an area greater than the green. So which one does not fit the criteria of greater than the blue and the green? That would be this section. So you would just shade right there and you'd be done. So really the special case is there's just one less place you can shade. And you just have to go through and remember what the different symbols mean. If you have, I would like screenshot that little top section from worksheet 9.6, the last one we did, just so you can have a little copy of like the little shade above, shade below, dotted, solid, so you don't have to remember if you struggle with which one's greater than, which one's less than. If you have the little key, just screenshot it off to the side up on your iPad or written down somewhere. It might be easier for you. All right, this next one's not a special case. So let's get into it. This is probably more of what the majority of your Khan Academy questions are going to look like. So I guess I'll start with the green. Why not? So my B, my y-intercept is at 3. Ooh, this is good. I get to mess with my slope a little bit. The slope is 3 over 1. That's an issue, though, because if I rise positive 3, I'm off the graph. So what can I do to this slope without changing it? I can't just make it negative. I cannot do that. I cannot just make it negative because that changes it. I need it to still be a positive slope, but I need to somehow count down instead of up. So what can I do? Well, I said we couldn't make it -3, but can we make it -3, -1? Yes, we can, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So either way, if I do my rise over run as -3 and then -1, I should still have a positive slope. So let's see. I'm going to rise -3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to run -1. There's that -1 right there. Get rid of those, and look at that. That's a positive sloping line. Is it going up to the right? Yeah, it's positive. Let's look at our symbol. It is less than or equal to, so I'm going to use a solid line here. All right. Cool. All right. I'll worry about shading later. All right, now to the blue. The B is -2, so I'm going to begin with the B on -2 on the y-axis. I am going to rise, the slope is 1/2, so I'm going to rise +1, run +2, positive, nice. All right, there's my other dot, we need 2. And let's go ahead, I'm going to do dotted or solid. Oh, finally, all these examples, we haven't had a dotted line yet, right? I think we did all solids so far, okay? Here's our first dotted because it does not have the or equal to. So when I connect these, it's gonna be a little sloppy. That's all right. It's going to be a dotted line. Okay. All right, so we have a solid and a dotted line, and now we have our 4 sections. Okay, so let us think about our shading now. So I need something that is less than, I'll go to this blue, or sorry, not less than, this is a greater than the blue line. That's greater than, so that's either here or here. Those are my 2 options. Okay, and then it has to also be, actually with the navy, no, not yet, less than the green, okay, which is either here, which is what we already shaded, or here. Now this is what Khan Academy is going to do that's different than me. They leave these 2 sections up here. Even though those aren't the right answers, they'll shade it with like a blue, like this light blue, and then they'll show you the overlap in like a darker blue like this. So here's the answer. This is what I would shade. You know, I would have erased those other 2. But Khan Academy does this thing where they're like, all right, I'm going to show you that these sections were possible, but this is really my answer right here. So that's how Khan Academy is going to show you the graph, because it's going to be multiple choice. It's going to show you 4 graphs that look like this, but one of them is going to have the proper lines. So it's going to have the dotted and the solid lines as necessary, and it will have the overlapping, your answer, really, but then it'll still show in light blue the sections that it could have been. Okay, so I'm going to kind of do the rest like that. And what I'm going to do is just shade in darker where the overlap is, because that's where our answer is. All right, let's do another. All right, blue, green. Start with the green, begin with the B, down to +1, right? Okay, solid line. All right. Blue, it's going to be a dotted line. We'll try and remember that. Begin at -1. My slope is 2, so it's 2 over 1. 1, 2, 1. All right, and that's going to be dotted. So I'm going to do my best to, that one's a little better, kind of dash. It's more dashed than dotted, but you get the idea. All right, so we got our 4 sections. I'll use the light blue to highlight the possibles, and then use the dark blue for my final answer. All right, so I need to go less than the blue, so that's below, so that's either here or here. And then I need to be greater than the green, so it's got to be above. So that's here or here. And obviously the overlap is my final answer. I'll use a darker navy for my answer. So that's the answer. That's what we want. But Khan Academy will leave those two light blues up there. But this is it. This is where I should shade. That's where all my answers are. Okay. I'll do one more here, and then we'll talk about your homework, and we'll give you a couple more examples that you can do on your own. Okay. So blue, green, positive 3, 2/3, rise 2, run 3, 1, 2, 3. All right. Okay. It's going to be a solid line. Oh, no, I erased it. Undo that. All right, so come on. There it is. All right. And the blue. Begin at -2. The slope is -1, so that's a slope of -1 over 1. So rise -1, there it is. Okay, and it is dotted. Dotted line. Okay. Boom, boom. And time to shade. So we'll start with the blue. Greater than means above. So here or here. Those are the two spots that are above the come back. That are above the blue line. Okay, and then for the green, less than. So that's below. So that's here or here. And the overlap, the one that they share, that's the final answer. So I'm going to use a darker. There you go. That's my answer. The darker one. Okay. All right. So you can look back through those as much as you need. Your homework, okay, is the Khan Academy. It should be in your assignments. You should be able to find it in your dashboard. You must get 4 out of 4 to get full points. You can keep retaking it as much as you need. So if you get a 3 out of 4, you just hit try again or whatever, and you can keep redoing it until you get 4 out of 4. Okay, it is due by 11 p.m. tonight, so you have time. I'm sure a majority of you will be able to finish and get 4 out of 4 in the class period we have today, but you have till 11 p.m. tonight. If you're struggling or you need help or whatever, send me a message. Now at the bottom here, I would like you to try 7 and 8 on your own. Here are the answers, but you can go ahead and I would try and do 7 and 8 on your own as practice, so that you don't have to keep retaking the Khan Academy, because it gets annoying when you have to keep retaking it over and over again. So maybe just get a couple practices in here with 7 and 8 before you jump to the Khan Academy. Be confident in your work. All right, message me if you have any questions, and good luck. Catch you later.